Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from our news up here at Desawe Kanda. Also live on 3FM 927 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also listen to us all across the world on 3news.com. We're live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Coming up this evening, the Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame hits back at Domahim Osadio Ajiman-Bedu over his call for the state to discontinue the criminal trial brought against Asin North Member of Parliament James Jatakwason. We'll give you details of the Attorney General's response or reaction to the Domahim's position on this matter. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7.
I think that is very unhealthy for our democratic dispensation.
We'll bring you the data and the details of that. We hear from the Attorney General, who wants comments over the case to seize the Member of Parliament in question. Meanwhile, is expected to be sworn in tomorrow at 10 a.m. All things being equal in Parliament. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Give you details. Also, the vetting committee of the governing New Patriotic Party ends its first successful engagement with 3 of the aspirants for the flag bearership of the NPP. We get details for you this evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Plus, the National Labour Commission has urged organized labour to suspend its intended strike and appear before it on Tuesday. Review details with these, plus the latest in the business news and sports and entertainment coming up over the next 60 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Welcome. I am Alfred Ocansey. Let's get into the details now. The Attorney General, the Minister of Justice, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, has condemned the Domahin Osiadio Ajiman-Bedu's call for the criminal trial of a Asin North Member of Parliament, James Jatakwason, to be discontinued, citing it as unhealthy. He argued that high-ranking individuals' comments could impact the trial and undermine justice administration. James Jatakwason is facing a perjury trial at an Accra High Court over processes leading to his election in the 2020 general elections, which has been declared null and void. Reacting to commentary from some high-profile individuals who have called on the state to file a nolle prosequa, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame expressed concern over such comments. He spoke to our court correspondent, Lord Eduasari, earlier today.
If an ordinary person in another criminal matter, as have been witnessed already in other cases, can have his proceedings adopted, why not proceedings in these so-called high-profile cases? I think that the tendency on our part to think that these high-profile cases must be treated specially and differently, and must be even immune from others for day-to-day trial or whatever, must stop. Because it's actually dangerous for society. Accused person is an accused person subject to all the rules of criminal procedure. And indeed, I think that it is actually in the interest of society to have these so-called high-profile cases concluded early. Because by the conclusion or early conclusion of them, it serves as a lesson for others. And the standard is clearly set in all the cases. Whether they are acquitted or convicted, it becomes a useful lesson for society. And I think that we must cooperate and have this case concluded.
So, I just would like to make a quick comment about the recent call by the Domahini. If you want to make a quick comment about that, because he's making a direct suggestion to your office and also to the office of the president.
I'm not going to comment on it right now. I'll come up with a proper statement on the matter. And it will be in respect of all comments generally which have the tendency to subvert the administration of justice. I think that is very unhealthy for our democratic dispensation, and therefore we must not countenance him. I'll come up with a formal statement on it.
Well, that's the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame there. But the Domahin is not alone in this call. In fact, private legal practitioner Kwame Jantua, founder of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, and Domahin have all called, in fact, amongst many other individuals who have appealed for the case to be aborted. In fact, just for the uninitiated, this is what the Domahin said.
Yamubi no krenim me ankasa de same o Supreme Court kasa gina ye no kame me ko left kame ko right na nenti anka me ko no wan hwe no ne bedi sa asem ya wo ntimi nko ka bi na mo mesra and the Attorney General of Ghana emra man kwame say ade bi e koso na ohwe Ghana fo anije nim a otimi ye de otwa so na no asenof be se papa no batwa na konyanum so onya MPB o no ba koto foforo batoma na na se bandu ama bantu ama no anya overwhelming majority no nya 57.56 oya bibi ketwa wa batum. As a matter of urgency, I'm appealing to the President of the Attorney General, President of the Republic, if he has any role to play, that trial should be aborted. The Attorney General should, as a matter of urgency, file a nolle prosequi to end that particular decision. Sir, make a way because the Twaswa. Ye did the Ghana for attempt. Ye did the Asenof for attempt. No credit, Samre engineer, me who sabi. Mpaswobia at the Bebra Ghana said down for no, the Bepako prosecute no. Now, so the Nigina quarter. Nabatwamani, MP Edman over and Agago. And Koya, Amayan Samra Papa, Amasabi. Ghana for a Juma and Mampuntu Aqua. Now, bet him a blame. It's on this day. Now, make catchers say, Samri, you are president. You know, I love you. This matter cannot go on. Attorney General. Odami, prayer the share, not the share. Shawumum, Coco Chasem, if you are, Nian Koyanim as Ghana for.
So that's the Domahin there, making that he says this is an urgent call and appeal to the Attorney General and the President of the Republic of Ghana to have the criminal case against James Atikwesin, MP-elect for Asenof, discontinued. Says it should file a nolle prosequi because, in summary, it says it's not going to have any benefit to Ghana if this prosecution case is continued, and that the sentiments of Ghanaians should be the basis for which the Attorney General should consider filing a nolle prosequi. Let's go on to the telephone now. Vitus Bang is private legal practitioner. He's been following this case quite closely as well. Bang, thank you so much for your time on Hot Edition. Now, you've heard from the Domahin, and the Attorney General's response and description is that this comment is unhealthy. Would you agree with the Attorney General's position on this matter?
Good evening, and good evening to your cherished listeners. With all due respect, I will disagree with the learned Attorney General. I do not think that the concerns raised by the Domahin are what he describes. I think that the Domahin is someone who has a lot of following. He has a subjects. He's a respected figure. And if he thinks that considering these cases, there's going to be some tension, it's going to probably affect the peace that we are enjoying, I think that it's not out of place for him to advise the learned Attorney General to consider exercising his powers of filing a nolle prosequi. It is an advice. Yes, the Attorney General may take it or he may not. But I think that if the Attorney General comes in to say that advice is out of place, I'm not too sure that that I share that concern. As the Minister for Justice, he must be seen to be prosecuting people, and people should not have the perception that he's persecuting them. So I think the call is not out of place. The Domahene, indeed, is a judge, but he's not conflicted in this case. If the case were to come to him, I'm sure he will recuse himself. And the good thing about some of these comments is that, they help us to, as lawyers and as people, to predict our judges, to know their disposition, so that we can predict with some level of certainty their thoughts on some cases that may come before them. But if we have to silence them, especially someone who is also holding a dual position as a very renowned chief, I think that it may be unfortunate. And then when I heard the Domahene, I hear him say that, the president, he knows I love him. Yeah, so that is not something that you can say is a comment made in bad faith. So it is left onto the Attorney General to either pay heed to the advice or not. If we continue to silence all dissenting voices, I'm not sure that we will be able to grow a society that we'll be very proud of. So the advice should be well taken. If he decides not to pay heed to the advice by following the Noli Prosequi, that is fine. But it is not out of place for Domahene to give that advice. That's my humble opinion.
So this perspective is that the Omahe's statement comes in the form of an advice and nothing more than that. And the Attorney General is also here making the point that these kinds of statements can influence or impact the trial and undermine justice administration. If you listen to the Domahe, this particular statement that he's made, does it have any potency or the tendency to impact on the trial and undermine justice administration, as the Attorney General is saying?
Well, in my humble opinion, I don't think that the opinion expressed by the Domahene has the potential to affect the case. With all due respect, the President of the Republic, the first gentleman, made some comments that, if you are being honest, you say that they were more prejudicial if the two are to be compared. And considering the important role the President plays in appointment of judges and in our justice dispensation, one would believe that those comments, if anything, are more prejudicial than the comments made by the Domahene. So I think that those comments are not out of place. Judges have sworn the judicial oath, and they promised us as a nation that they are going to deliver justice irrespective of the persons that are involved. So if the Domahene expresses his opinion, I don't think his colleague judges would be bound by that opinion or be persuaded by those opinions. The views expressed by the Domahene may be, to some large extent, the views held by many Ghanaians who may not have the opportunity to be heard on this matter, or for some other reasons they may not even want to express themselves in the manner that the Domahene did. So I think that as a nation we should constantly evaluate ourselves and try and go for peace. It is not every criminal offense that we must insist that we are going to probably prosecute. Otherwise, we may end up being seen to be persecuting. If you look at the posture of the Attorney General in the trial or the case before the by-election happened, it doesn't suggest that this is somebody who is going to be willing to back down. And then, so in the light of all of these, if he dismisses the advice given by the Domahene, I think that one can understand his position. But he should be willing to open his arms and welcome dissenting opinions and advise himself accordingly.
If you listen to the Domahene's statements quite carefully, that recommendation or the proposal, he says he's making this urgent appeal or the call to the Attorney General and the President. He predicates this appeal on the basis that the sentiments of Ghanaians towards that point that look, I mean, this trial should be discontinued. I mean, as a lawyer, based on the legal framework as it stands now, under what circumstance can the AG, for instance, consider filing a nolle prosequi in any case or any criminal case for that matter, and what role sentiments or the overriding views of people play in such decision making?
The Attorney General has very wide powers as far as the exercise of his power to file a nolle prosequi is concerned. The Attorney General can file a nolle prosequi in respect of any criminal proceedings that is pending before the courts. It doesn't matter the offense that is concerned. And of course, in doing that, we expect that as a public officer, he would exercise his discretion properly and act in a manner that the Constitution protects. Expects him to act. So, in considering, and in fact, he's not required to give any reason at all for exercising the power to file a nolle prosequi. He's not bound to give any reason, and the judge that the case is before cannot say, Attorney General, I must know the reason why you are filing a nolle prosequi in this matter. That discretion is the sole preserve of the Attorney General. And we do see nolle prosequi being filed in respect of several cases. I don't think that this one is out of place. With all due respect, this point is not here, but the case that involved the Mamprusi chief, for instance, if we were to go ahead and prosecute because we think that he has committed an offense, it may lead to a very chaotic situation and would derail the peace that we are enjoying. So if they found it appropriate, for instance, not to continue the case, I don't think that it is out of place for the Attorney General to consider exercising his power of filing nolle prosequi in this particular case, for instance. The people of Ascent North spoke decisively, and if they are so bound on having the Honorable Judge Kwesi as their MP, and then we continue the prosecution, it's going to affect his parliamentary work in the first place. And in the second place, assuming he was even convicted and sentenced to prison, it will mean that another by-election is looming, and what is the net benefit? I think that the charge is before the court, is for the court to determine, but one cannot say with 100% certainty that the Honorable Judge Kwesi is going to be guilty of the offense. He may end up being exonerated, and the resources that the state is using to fight this case maybe can be channeled to some other equally important or more important areas. We are in a country where armed robbery abounds. People cannot have their peace of mind. So if we can channel some of these energies towards prosecuting these notorious cases, maybe it may inure to the benefit of all of us as Ghanaians, other than going for all the time the low-hanging fruits.
And if you listen to this speech that I played earlier, the Domahin makes the point that he is speaking to his subject, making the case that the Attorney General is from his area, is one of the communities that he presides over as chief for the Doma area. Now, on the balance of probability, having listened to the Attorney General and the position that he's espoused throughout this case, will this appeal receive any positive reaction?
I think that you have already said that the Attorney General has made some comments. So it means that the appeal has been jettisoned, has been thrown away. And considering the length of time that the Attorney General had to probably consider before making a comment, I think that the appeal has been thrown away. So it's not something that he's likely to consider. But one would have thought that maybe the Attorney General would backtrack and then consult maybe the notable people in his government and then see, is it in our interest as a nation for us to prosecute the Honorable Judge Kwesi in respect of the so-called offenses that he has committed? And maybe the outcome of that consultation may be that let sleeping dogs lie. that the alacrity speed with which he responded, it may suggest that maybe the consultations have not been wide enough, or maybe he saw that there was no need to consult at all, and that he has to say a straightforward position on the matter, that the advice or comments by the Domahene were out of place.
Vitus Bang, I thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it as always. You're on Hot Edition.
The pleasure is mine.
As Vitus Bang is private legal practitioner, he's a lecturer as well, sharing his thoughts with us on this, and a number of reactions coming through on this particular one, with the majority leader HMN Sabonso speaking on it as well. Let's still stay with the issues of Parliament and law, because the Assin North Member of Parliament elect James Ochakwesen will be sworn in tomorrow, July 4. He will be sworn in by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumanakins for Bagbin. This follows his landslide victory on Tuesday, June 27, in the Assin North by-election. Officials of the Electoral Commission declared Kwesen the victor, raising his hand to signal the status as NDC officials broke into their revolt, the chant or chorus as we saw. James Ochakwesen was ejected from Parliament last month following a Supreme Court decision to uphold the annulment of the 2020 constituency election by High Court. James Ochakwesen, despite facing a criminal trial over the same dual citizenship allegation that made him lose the seat, won again with a wider margin of 17,245 votes, representing 57.56% of the valid votes cast. His main rival, Charles Opoku of the NPP, polled 12,630. That's about 42.15% of the valid vote cast, to place second, while the Liberal Party of Ghana, LPG's Benis Enam Sefano, polled only 87 of the votes, that's 0.29%. So that's how things are playing out as we speak. So tomorrow, James Ochakwesen will be sworn in as Member of Parliament for the Assin North constituency, all things being equal. But some views the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Suman Ogbagben's decisions and his posture as controversial, and others believe that he's principled. In fact, members of both parties, as the NPP and the NDC in Parliament, have issues with some of his rulings and decisions. One of such was the passage of the e-levy, which the minority had strongly opposed the bill and vowed to vote against it. But on the D-Day, they were disappointed with the Speaker's actions. Another was during the Finance Minister's censure motion. The Speaker decided to constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate the matter instead of allowing for a debate on the floor. But this did not go down well with the minority MPs. But the Speaker, during a courtesy call on the management of Media General, explained that he takes certain decisions based on the situation, adding such a hung parliament needs skill. And that's what he's employed over the period. I want to take a listen to the Speaker of Parliament making this point to the MG management team.
Censure motion, the rules that we are passing now is addressing most of them, because there were no rules governing a lot of areas. The speakers came 4 years, there's a change, and they follow the tradition. I've been there, I've been seeing some of these problems, and so now I'm on the hot seat. So I try to iron out new rules. The standing orders gives me the power that when there's no provision, I should make the provision. And so I make the provision. Then we now take the opportunity to go to the committee. The standing orders committee is chaired by the Speaker. And then we now detail it out in the form of the rules. So all those things now have now been spelled out in the new standing orders, the revised one that we are going to pass by next week.
Abang Babin is also aware of such disappointments from the MPs, but says he certainly does that to iron out new rules for the House.
NDC, my party, expect me to lean in favor of them. I don't do so, so they are angry with me. The MPP see me as opponent, and they think that I'm always opposing them. Sometimes I give things in their favor, they are happy. The next day I give against them, they tell me that they are in government. It has sometimes, as a leader, you look at the situation. So as I preside, sometimes you see there's the temperature is rising, and you see sometimes I bring a joke. to diffuse it. Then they laugh. And then we go and start again. There are some who look at the situation. So as I preside, sometimes you see there's the temperature is rising, and you see sometimes I bring a joke to diffuse it. Then they laugh. And then we go and start again. There are some of the skills and this you have to use, particularly for a hung parliament like this, where nobody is for you.
As the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagman there. A short while ago, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia became the last of 3 candidates to undergo vetting today at the governing New Patriotic Party's Kokomlemle office. Former Trade Minister Alan Kojo Chamantin was the first to have met the committee as the electoral processes for the Elephant Party to select its flag bearer took another turn. Speaking to journalists afterwards, Alan Chamantin expressed optimism in going through the vetting process.
On several other occasions, so I'm quite familiar and comfortable with this process. I think the important thing for you is to know that tomorrow I will start my constituency tours in Greater Accra. I have decided that I'll introduce an innovation into my constituency tours by clustering constituencies for the purpose of bringing our party executives together, not just within their own constituencies, but in a few other constituencies in the cluster. That will help energize the rank and file of our party. I mean, it's all about making sure that we work together as a party in our march towards victory 2024. So I hope we can work collaboratively with you on these rounds that will begin tomorrow.
May we know some of the issues that came up in the vetting?
No, it is not appropriate for us to discuss issues that have been discussed in camera. That has been the tradition and practice of our.
For Kojo Poku, who addressed the media before entering, the process affords him the chance to prove his commitment and loyalty to the NPP.
This nation are looking forward to. I don't see anyhow any form that I'm going to look. The 5 that is going to be shortlisted, I am one of the first people that will come through the shortlist. Then from that, the November election, inshallah, I will most definitely win the election.
You're so confident about it. Well, where is that confidence coming from that you think?
Well, my brother, I will not be in this election if I wasn't confident. In life, you have to have a dream, and with the dream, you have a positive thinking. My positive thinking tells me that I have gone around the country, interacted with chairmen, interacted with polling station executives, interacted with the grassroots of this party, and they've assured me that I am the one that they feel that my message. Look, I've said that this election is not going to be an election of personalities. It's not going to be about who is popular. The party wants somebody who has ideas to change the party, and KMP is the person who has those ideas. Well, those are speculations. I don't look into those things. Look, those people who went to Asenov, I wasn't there. I was bereaved, so I couldn't go to Asenov. So I don't know what happened there. I've read other reportages on social media, but look, the party is together. I don't think anybody is being favored. Look, if 2-3 people are favoring one person, those 2-3 people only have 3 terms. Okay, there's going to be 230,000. If 230,000 people favor one person, that person will win. So look, the person who is favored and the person who's going to win is the person.
As Kojo Nsafo there is one of 10 people who have put themselves up to lead the NPP as its flag bearer going into the 2024 general elections, and 3 out of the 10 have been vetted today by the vetting committee chaired by the former Speaker of Parliament, that's Professor Aaron Michael Quay. Noble Crosby Annan is my colleague. He has been monitoring the process of the flag bearer that's vetting at the NPP headquarters throughout the day. He's connecting with me on the telephone. Noble, tell me, what's exactly has been going on with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia after the vetting ended today? We understand some few minutes ago. What's going on there?
So Dr. Bawumia, when he arrived at the NPP election or campaign office at Kokomlemle around 2:10, made his way to where the vetting was being undertaken. The Vice President entered, and then he came out about a few minutes to 4 o'clock. So he came out around 3:55. So fair enough, the Vice President spent close to 2 2 hours of the vetting committee. He declined to speak to the media when he was done with his vetting. He was in high spirits. He came with a few supporters of his. He was flanked also by some other members of the campaign team. So that was how the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, went to the when he took his turn as part of, the three group of people who want to become flag bearer of the party going into the 2024 general elections.
I see. Now, talk about the crowd. Those moments that were never captured on camera or for the voices of many. Tell us what's been going on outside of the vetting room and the reactions of the supporters who come there.
Right, Alfred. The idea of the party, I believe, was to have the vetting, if you like, close to the blind side of the supporters of the party. Remember that when they were picking and submitting their nomination forms, a lot of supporters followed the candidates to the headquarters of the party. I think this time around the party decided to reduce the numbers of the supporters such that the process is not disrupted. So only a handful of supporters followed Dr. Bawumia this time around. You could just count about 20 because I believe the party deliberately made that choice. If you compare that to the numbers that followed the Vice President when he picked and submitted his nomination forms, it was woefully a low percentage. But that was also the same for Alan Kyerematen. He came almost alone, just like Alfred Ocansey. So you could clearly see that there was an attempt or an effort of the party not to let the supporters, the masses of the aspirants, gather at the commemorative office of the party, so they go through the vetting process. And again, because this process would last over an hour, if you like, an hour or more, that's how come that happened. It would not be fair for them to, unlike the submitting of the nomination forms, for them to wait until they come out before they address their supporters.
See, because I recall there were issues about security concerns as well because of the large crowd that we saw following Alan Kyerematen and Dr. Bawumia as well. If that estimated crowd was to mass up at the party headquarters today, that would have been chaotic, is it not?
Yeah, exactly. That is why that happened. So there were no supporters, if like barely were there any supporters of the aspirants who came to go through the vetting process. First was Alan Kyerematen, then Alfred Ocansey, and the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia.
So the vetting for today is done?
The vetting for today is done. Tomorrow we're seeing some three other aspirants of the party. We're looking at the former Energy Minister, Boakye Jackson. Also, Kennedy Japan will be vetted tomorrow, as well as the former General Secretary of the party, Kwabena Japan, will also face the vetting committee tomorrow.
Great stuff. Noble Crosby Annan, thank you. Appreciate it. Noble Crosby Annan is correspondent at the NPP headquarters with the political desk, giving us updates of what's happening there. At the NPP headquarters, 3 persons who vying for the flag bearership of the NPP were vetted today. Alan Kyerematen, Kojopoku, and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Vice President. Tomorrow, Boakye Kyerematen Ejakon, former Energy Minister, Kwabena Japan, former General Secretary of the party, Honorable Kennedy Ohin Japan, is a member of parliament for the Asin Central constituency. Wednesday, that's the 5th of July, we're expecting Dr. Kofi Kunedu Apreko and Dr. Osefria Koto, the former Greek minister, and Joe Gatti, the Sikado Ketang member of parliament, also is up for vetting on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, there's only one person to be vetted, Honorable Francis Adainimo as well, the former Mampo member of parliament. So that's what we have now from the NPP. And as you heard earlier from Alan Kyerematen, we understand that he's announced plans to begin tours in the Greater Accra region from tomorrow, July 4, after being vetted by Professor Michael Quayle-led vetting committee in Accra. Mr. Kyerematen revealed his innovative approach to constituency tours. According to him, he intends to cluster constituencies, bringing party executives together, not only within their own constituencies, but also in other constituencies within the cluster. What we're learning as well is that another flag bearer hopeful, that's of the former Greek minister, Dr. Osefria Koto, will In fact, today he's begun a nationwide campaign ahead of his vetting as well. This is starting from the Greater Accra region as well. The two-term member of parliament for the Kwadaso constituency will first visit Shai Osudoku constituency, Ningo Prampram, and the Ashaiman constituency, where he would meet polling station executives and delegates to sell his vision for the party and Ghana to them. We understand that that meeting is ongoing as we speak. Tomorrow, July 4th, he will visit Domia Braubom, Ayawaso East and Ayawaso North constituencies, where he'll convince the delegates, the NPP delegates, to vote for him to become the party's presidential candidate for the 2024 general elections. That's what we're getting so far from these persons who put themselves up to lead the NPP going into the 2024 elections as its flag bearer. The National Labour Commission has urged organised labour to suspend its intended strike and appear before it on Tuesday. Organised labour has served notice to withdraw its services on July 10, demanding the reinstatement of 3 union leaders by the management of Sonona Sogli. Secretary General of TUC, Dr. Yaban, spoke with our labour correspondent Daniel Opoko in Accra earlier today on this development.
We have written formally to the National Labour Commission last week. We informed them formally and gave them the notice of the strike for 10th. And this, as I said, is not only TUC, but it's the entire organised labour. Since we served the notice, as you expect, we are receiving a lot of calls, invitations. So tomorrow afternoon, the National Labour Commission has invited us to discuss, and they are asking us to hold everything we plan to do until we have discussed. So we'll go there tomorrow at 2 o'clock to listen to them.
This is not the first time the matter is going before the National Labour Commission. The Commission is
yes,
very
but
much...
this is the first time it's going there as organised labour. Okay. It was Ghana Workers Union dealing with it on their own. They couldn't manage it, so they brought it to the TUC level. We didn't get a result, so we went to the organised labour level. So we are going there as organised labour leaders, not necessarily Ghana Workers Union. And we are hoping that we can find a solution if the employers are ready to play ball with us. We don't know what the National Labour Commission is going to do tomorrow. So we will go and hear them. In the meantime, we have declared 10th of July as a day for strike, to start the strike, and that stands. So we have said in the letter, in the notice to National Labour Commission, we copied all the unions that are part of organised labour, that the directive is that organised labour leaders are saying that on the 10th of July, we are starting a nationwide strike involving all workers who are part of organised labour. I don't want to focus on individuals in this, but the truth of the matter is that a number of stakeholders are involved in this. As soon as we issued the statement on the strike for 10th, as you expect, all those who care about this country, especially government, I will not mention names, but I can tell you that a number of people who care about this country have come, and they want to see how they can work with us and management to get our guys back or to resolve the matter amicably.
But no, are you convinced by their commitment?
Oh, I have not accepted their commitment. The thing is that these are important people, individuals and institutions that want peace in Ghana, and they are trying to see how they can work with us and management to, instead of using strike action, judge all and make sure we get what we want, they also get what we want. And I have always said that there is always room for dialogue. We are trade unionists, and the reason we gave a good notice is for us to be able to dialogue. They know our demand. There is no justification for sacking these 3 guys. So if 3 guys are brought back to work today, there is no need for strike. And we have made this clear to all the stakeholders who are coming to us, that we know what you are saying. We have been involved in discussions with management since February 2021. Therefore, we've gone very far. It has taken 2 years or more to be able to get to where we are.
That's Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Yaba there. The National Development Planning Commission, DPC, recognizes the importance of investing in people and their well-being to improve individual and collective performance for overall contribution to the nation's development. National Development Planning Commission is drafting a human capital development strategy to enhance and optimize the skills and overall potential of the Ghanaian workforce in the country. A stakeholder engagement workshop has been held as part of the process to solicit input and create a participatory approach towards developing the strategy. Ghanaian institutions, despite having a workforce with the necessary educational qualification, face challenges in implementing structures effectively to ensure all relevant indices are accounted for. Commissioner for the NDPC, Professor Bill Popolampo, said the human capital development strategy will address these challenges and unlock the full potential of institutions.
Back in 2019, when we had a session on human capital development, we wanted to ensure that we build this thing up and actually decide on a set of skills for the nation. The approach by way of policy and plan for building up those sets of skills and ensuring that it feeds into education, into training, into apprenticeships, and a whole range of other areas. You know, the problem that we sometimes have is, people talk about leapfrogging and so on. And so you have a certain level of development, you think that, you don't have time. But the reality is that education is looked at in terms of 4, 10, and 15-year iterations. Those you train and develop now are those who will be taking the jobs in 5 to 10 years' time. So if you don't build up these skills in them now, in 5 to 10 years' time, you have a problem. So we need to tackle the basic level, we need to tackle the secondary level, as we also tackle the tertiary level. Now, it's very, very important. The matter of skills, the matter of values, the matter of ethicality starts from when people or young children, our children, learning in the playground and being taught how to do things right by their teachers in school. And it's built into the curriculum. So it's very, very important from right now.
Well, let's get into business now. It's some 17 minutes to the top of the hour, 6 p.m. here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Anekia Mensa Brampa is here with the latest. Anekia.
Right, Alfred. So I'm sure you know it's the first pricing window. Fuel prices were expecting somewhere projecting increases, somewhere projecting
a decrease.
A decrease, but I understand
I will go with the decrease.
Who wants to go with the decrease? We all want decrease. So I'm told that some of the pumps have decreased their price. We'll be going into that a bit of the media budget. But the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is calling for a lasting solution to the challenges between the Independent Power Producers and the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. The IPPs had called off a nationwide power cut over debts owed them following what they described as a fruitful engagement with the utility company. Speaking to 3 Business, Greater Accra Chairman of AGI, Chana Makpelo, stressed the need to ensure constant supply of power for local industries to thrive.
At least 30% of everything we do in industry will require power. And so the supply and consistency in supply of power becomes very fundamental for a successful production. Besides, we've received several orders that we have to work on. And so consistency in power supply is really of paramount. And so any distraction or a breakage in the flow of power constitutes a significant worry for members of the industrial fraternity. This is because any news, as we're witnessing, that suggests that there may be distraction of power would quickly call for a situation where we need to arrange for plan B. So it means we have to procure generators and fuel them, and that's an extra cost to business. Because consistency, as you know, is really what we aim for, and it's something that we've always wanted. And so our prayer is that this matter is resolved very quickly, but also that measures are taken to ensure that this situation do not continue to linger on. I mean, we all have been aware of this situation for several years, and the expectations are that it will be dealt with.
And that was the chairman of AGI Greater Accra, Chana Makpelo there. So you're likely to see some 20 pesos or 30 pesos off the usual prices you pay for a liter of fuel, because some fuel outlets have reduced prices by some 2% for this first pricing window in the month of July. However, a few stations have increased their pump prices. LPG price is also expected to stay same. And the executive secretary of a chamber for petroleum consumers, COPEC, Dan Kanamwa, explains the situation.
By middle or close of today, a lot of the OMCs would have declined on prices, declined to the extent that international benchmarks are lowered by some 2 and 3% for petrol and diesel. The city, however, has not been that effective. You are likely to get some further declines on current pump prices by some 10 pesos averagely. And so, barring any last minute whatever, it is our expectation that Ghanaians will pay a little less for fuel for the first window, July. LPG prices, however, we expect to remain stable due relatively to the same numbers as the markets have not done much. It's also seen some adjustment upwards, but not significant enough to cause any change in prices at the various LPG pumps. So prices of LPG likely to also be maintained or remain stable.
Duncan Amwa is Executive Secretary of COPEC there. And so the media budget has been slated for the 27th of this month, and the economist and director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Korte, expects that macroeconomic challenges facing the Ghanaian economy will be addressed during the mid-year budget review. According to him, there should be policies to tackle the cedi depreciation, inflation, and other challenges while protecting businesses and growing the economy.
Exchange rate has been fairly stable, but we expect some new policies or new measures to ensure its stability is strengthened. Inflation is still high, although it's been tapering down slightly. Inflation is still high, so I expect to see measures to curb inflation without necessarily hurting the business sector. It shouldn't be interest rate hikes all the time, but other real activities or policies that will strengthen the real sector so that growth would be enhanced within the real sector, and that would help reduce the rise in inflation.
Economist and director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research there, Professor Peter Korte. Remember, when you log on to 3news.com, you get more news updates. And as to the prices of petrol, as I mentioned, when you visit the stations, you see that some have reduced their prices and some have increased their prices. So you would determine that as a consumer, and the LPG also remains same. We'll keep you posted on that. You can visit our website, 3news.com, for more news updates. My name is Nana Ekuya Mensah Brampa. Oreku Ampofo is ready for sports.
Well, thank you very much, Nana Ekuya, and welcome to sports here on a hot edition on TFM 92.7. We'll be starting off with some transfer news and Ghanaian interest, because Baba Rahman is reportedly close to terminating his contract with Chelsea by mutual agreement. Now, it's also been reported that the Ghanaian left-back is set to join PAOK. That's a Greek club that he played for 2 seasons ago, and he's expected to sign a 2-year deal with the club. London-based journalist Rahman Osman has been speaking on the transfer and believes it's the right move for the former Augsburg defender.
It was quite really clear that Baba would try to move on from Chelsea. Like you rightfully said, in 2015 when he went, his first season was quite good. He had 23 games. In that very chaotic Chelsea team, it was under Jose Mourinho. But since then, he went to the AFCON, had a really bad knee injury, and it's not been the same for him. And Chelsea are changing. Chelsea is not the same club that it was under Roman. So they are trying to move on a lot of people, including loan players. A few weeks ago, we're told that Bakayoko's contract was also terminated. Baba's contract was supposed to be terminated. But it had to do with money, because Baba rightfully had a year left on his deal, and he was on 4 million. And you can't write off 4 million. Nobody can write off 4 million totally. So it was always going to be about discussions about how to to pay maybe 80% of that. And we're told that Baba has been able to get at least 80% of his $4 million a year deal. And Park will sign him on for free. And Chelsea are only now trying to say that if eventually he plays in any form of Europe, be it in the Conference League or the Europa League or the Champions League with Park, then Chelsea will get a fee on it. But it's good. It's a good deal for the player. What he will lose, though, is significantly. It's a lot of money. In that he was on around 4 million a year. Now he's going for around 1 million. So that's a huge loss in any department if you're going to do. But he's 29. He needs to go to a club where he'll play, a club where he belongs to, and a club that might possibly be playing in Europe.
Well, that was Rahman Osman on the latest transfer. That's Baba Rahman set to leave Chelsea after 8 years. But the man who would not be working with Baba is new coach Mauricio Pochettino, who reported to his first training session as Chelsea boss today. Now, he's been speaking to the Chelsea media, and he says that the club have been the greatest in England in recent times.
Maurizio, first of all, a very warm welcome to Chelsea. It's great to see you. Firstly, what made you and your team so attracted to the project here at the club?
Thank you very much. For me, it's a pleasure and an honor to be now involved with Chelsea Football Club. I think we are so exciting, and I know very well Chelsea is one of the greatest clubs in the world, and of course it was easy for us to take the decision to move to here. I think we are really exciting. We are so happy that at least today we can start here in Coban, in the training ground, knowing the people, the staff, meeting the staff, and I think it's exciting now for us. And of course, what we want is to give or to bring, the happiness again to this great football club.
Well, that was Mauricio Pochettino there, and he took charge of his first training session as Chelsea coach earlier today at Cobham, and he looked really excited and pumped up for his new role. But before we go, let's just get some updates from Wimbledon, which began today, and defending champion Novak Djokovic beat Pedro Cachin in straight sets to win the first round game there. But there was a little bit of a surprise because the game was suspended for an hour after a heavy downpour in centre court. Now, Djokovic says that it was strange to see the court a bit slippery, but still showed his appreciation for the fans at centre court.
Probably, but in a good way. I think well, it was definitely frustrating, of course, for all the crowd waiting for us to come out on the court, and us players, we both wanted to play, but the conditions were not great. Obviously, still slippery under the roof, and once the roof was open, it was a different story. After 5-10 minutes, we were out and about, and this is the holy grail, or the temple of tennis, so to say. This court is really something special. And every time I come out, I normally come out with rackets, not with towels, but it was fun to do something different. A little bit of a strange feeling, but hopefully you guys liked it.
Well, that was defending champion Novak Djokovic, hoping to extend his record. He has 23 Grand Slam titles. We'll be hoping to add one more to make it 24. But still a long way to go. The Serbian just advanced to round 2. And we advance here on Hot Edition because up next is entertainment with Akofa.
right, thank you very much, Riku, for that one. Coming up on the entertainment news segment here on Hot Edition, the journey towards finding true love on a Perfect Match Extra has proven to be a roller coaster ride filled with passion, with heartbreak and self-discovery. Well, after weeks of the entertaining reality experience, Lovelin and Etonam, Grace and Babalino and Kodak and Bella have finally booked a place at the Perfect Match Extra grand finale following the eviction of two couples from the competition. Now, let's quickly take a listen, to a few of the highlights from the show over the weekend.
Who is going to join Kodak and Bella, Grace and Babalino as the third and final housemates or set of housemates, vying for 50,000 Ghana cedis and other sponsor prizes? Well, Ghana voted, and tonight, going home is BB and Flash. Thank you so much for being a part of Perfect Match Extra. How's it been? You went, you came back, you've come back again.
Yeah, it was great. This time around, I'm not going alone. I'm glad to be going with Ohene.
But do you think you and Oheneba will become an item after here?
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. Oheneba, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
But how's it been in Big Mama's house?
I came in single, as you all saw, but now, as you can see, brownie is a hard nut to crack, which you all know. But I'm a big hammer, so I can crack it. So hopefully, everything is going to turn out well when we leave this house. We are going to continue what we started here.
Yeah.
She has what I like, so I'm going to be. She's safe. She's safe for now.
She's safe with you.
She's safe with
Well, thank you so much for being a part.
We are going. Heaven knows where we are going.
Well, still on Perfect Match Extra, former housemate BB has tipped Grace and Babalino to win the PM Extra show. Speaking on TV3 New Day earlier, she believes the couple has a stronger connection as compared to the other housemates.
I walked to the house, I was just observing things, who is playing the game, who is real, who is being fake, I got everybody, I literally got everybody. But one thing about Babalino and Grace, I would say they are real because, even at a point, I even told Grace, I know the game that you are playing, but she's being herself,
okay.
Although that people assume that she's playing the game. She's being, I'll define it like she's playing Perfect Match Extra game. You get it? Okay. People will wait for the camera to be like, okay, the camera is coming and just, okay, baby, how are you doing?
There were people who were doing that?
Yeah.
Like who?
So,
like who? Tell us. We want to know. If you have to mention one person, is it Bella?
Yeah, Bella and Kodak.
Bella and Kodak, they're playing for the cameras.
Yes.
They're not being real.
Yes, and at a point, I think Lovelin and Etonam as well.
I see.
Yes, so, but when it comes to Babalino and Grace, there is something. Yeah, although they have this petty fight and all of that, there is something
Yeah.
Yeah, so
okay.
I'll say,
So, Grace and Babalino, the two of you are hoping that they would win.
Yeah, they will
Perfect
win.
Match.
And now to my final story. The Musicians Union of Ghana, Musica, has released a press statement expressing its concerns over the formation of a potential breakaway group referred to as the New Musica by some of its members. Now, the statement, signed by acting president Bessa Simons, describes the move as a ploy to cause confusion among the union's members and urges all musicians to condemn such actions. In the press release, Bessa Simons highlights Musica's constitution, specifically Article 741, which states that membership is open to professional musicians who are not affiliated with any rival body of musicians. Also goes on to say, after the failure of their legal machinations and maneuvering, this latest attempt to break the ranks of Musica is unwarranted and must be condemned by all well-meaning Ghanaians, all well-meaning musicians, actually. According to Musica's Constitution, Article 741, membership shall be open to professional musicians who are not members of any rival body of musicians, a portion of the statement read. Now, quoting Article 77 of the Union's Constitution, which addresses conflicts of interest, Bessa Simons emphasized that members are prohibited from holding membership in any union of musicians that undermines the legitimate interest of Musica or any of its affiliates. The acting president cautioned that any member who joins the purported new Musica will automatically lose their membership in the Musicians Union of Ghana. Now, the press release comes ahead of Musica's upcoming elections scheduled to take place on August 8, 2023. And that's how we end the entertainment news segment here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa and Alfred.
Yep. You're back at 8 o'clock.
I am back with Wind Down. It's a brand new week.
Absolutely. So what kind of music are we
we're
expecting?
doing country because, you know, it sets the tone, welcomes you if you're stuck in traffic. Something easy to listen to, so, you know, you can relax when you're getting home. Or if you just got home too, it's a way to relax.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Thank you very much.
Great stuff.
And I'll be watching you later.
At 10 p.m. on
For Ghana
tonight.
yes.
TV3. Great stuff. On behalf of the rest of the team, we appreciate your time here on Hot Edition. The drive continues with Giovanni, AJ, and DJ Faculty. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good evening.